Good evening. Some familiar faces. First of all, kol hakavod to those people who came out to learn a little bit about Purim, the Megillah, because we know that on Purim itself, it's difficult to study the Megillah with the rush and the noise and maybe some little bit of drinking. And so the hachana, the preparation, is what this chag is all about, and all of you, kol hakavod, ashrei lachem, for being here. Friends, there is a concept in Jewish thought that comes up again and again, and it goes like this. If you want to understand what's happening in the world today, the news cycle that is being drilled into our heads 24/7, maybe 24/6, or maybe getting Bet Knesset, that becomes the 7th. Look at what's happening in the parasha. Look at a chag that is near us. If you want to know what's happening in Europe today, Purim has got all the answers that we want. Let me give you a clue as to where I'm going, although it should be pretty obvious. There's a story of a paranoid, megalomaniac dictator who wanted to take over the entire world. Am I talking 2022 or am I talking Megillah? I'm talking both. History repeats itself. Hashem is giving us hints, showing us the solution to problems we're in now. Were answered many years ago by rabbis. Bayam mahem, bazman hazeh is the bracha we're going to say before we hear the Megillah. It happened in those days, but this is the Zman. What is this Zman? We know that Pesach is Zman Chiruteinu. We know that Shavuot is Zman Torateinu. We know that Sukkot is Zman of Simcha, of Emunah. Then what exactly, my dear friends, is Purim? What are we meant to be downloading into our heads? What are we meant to be receiving at that Zman as Purim enters, besides copious amounts of alcohol? Nichnas hayayin yotza sod. The wine goes in, the secrets come out. Unfortunately, I know a lot of people, the wine goes in, a lot more comes out than just sod. What are we meant to be makabel in our lives at this Zman? I'm going to give you an extraordinary answer. Schok, laughter. This, my friends, is the laughing holiday. Laughter. Have you seen the Megillah? Have you seen the story? It is the unfunniest story that's ever been written in Jewish history. I'm a rabbi. I collect jokes. This is not one of them. It's terrible. It's a 17-year nightmare. The Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. The Jewish people went into Galut, into Bavel. Achashverosh takes over and moves it from Bavel to Paras, to Persia, to the capital of Persia, which is Great Neck. We said that before. You know that. Sorry to offend. King's Point, I apologize to those people. Maybe King's Point to Shushan Abirah, whatever, it's not important. And so he moved his entire empire. And the Jewish people were there, because we Jews are always, right in the center of the action. We're not in the middle of Africa, not in Kabul, right? We're right there in the thick of it. So most of the Jewish people are in Shushan. Only a few people were allowed to Shushan Abirah. Shushan Abirah was the capital within the capital, surrounded by a moat. Esther was there, and Mordechai was allowed to Shushan Abirah because he was a very influential and important person. And so we know the Jewish people were up for annihilation. And when I say the Jewish people, I mean all the Jewish people. The only time in Jewish history where the entire Jewish people were up for death. It's never happened before or since. There's always been pockets of Jews who were up for extermination. But this is every Jew throughout the entire world, because Achashverosh controlled 127 provinces. This is a terrible time. And yet, the holiday itself, we don't think about that. We're dressing up. More about that later on. We're drinking, enjoying Su'udot, Matei Levyonim. Why? Shiloch Manot. Why? Because we want to make people happy. You're meant to give tzedakah on that day. Not just give tzedakah and laugh and enjoy. That's what you're meant to do. Not, okay. None of that. That's not Purim. That's the rest of the year, but that's not Purim. So what's so funny? What is Schok all about? Why are we laughing on this day? The answer to this question, my friends, is going to reveal so much to us. And it's also going to answer another question that I must ask. So I know I'm loading up, so do not leave early. You leave with a lot of questions and no answers. The Rambam tells us, an unbelievable Rambam, as my Rashiv used to say, a Beladika Rambam, which means unbelievable. The Rambam tells us when Mashiach comes, all the Nevi'im, all of the books of Tanakh, all the books of scriptures are going to disappear. We don't need them anymore. Why? Because all of Tanakh is telling us about the arrival of Mashiach. Once Mashiach comes, you don't need it anymore. It's done. They'll all be mevatel, nullified. Actually, all the Jewish holidays are going to be nullified. You're not going to need them anymore, except for Purim and Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur, a day like Purim. Those two are connected. But in Yom Kippur, you'll be eating, B'ezrat Hashem. Worth Mashiach coming just for that, Dayenu. However, says the Rambam, Megillat Esther will always be there, and Purim will always be celebrated. There's something messianic, something Mashiachic about that day. You are experiencing the arrival of Mashiach on Purim. One of the metaphors that the rabbis give us to understand the coming of Mashiach is Chevlei HaMashiach, which means the birth pains of Mashiach. I'll give you a better translation. The contractions of Mashiach. Those people who may have seen a birth, or you were born yourselves, you don't remember. But those of us who've had the zchut of being present at the birth of children know that the upturn, the change is remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. You go from the extreme, I didn't go through the pain, except when she was pinching my hand, but besides that, the extreme pain and inevitable death. You've got a fetus in the womb, in the amniotic fluid, that's being supported by water. It's taken 9 months at that point, and it starts off fine. You're looking forward. B'ezrat Hashem, we're going to have a baby. Month 2. Then month 3 gets a bit more difficult. By month 4, she's ready to cut my head off. By month 8, she's like, if it doesn't come out now, I'm going to kill everybody. By 9, she's like, I give up. That's it. Just get it out. As the doctor told my wife, I've never met one that wants to stay in there. Eventually they all come out. And you go from this pain, this screaming, this challenge, this difficulty, the most painful experience, to the most sublime experience. And the baby that's living in water now lives in air. V'nahafachu, it all turns around. Yeshuat Hashem keheref ayin. God's salvation comes in the blink of an eye. That, my friends, is the secret of Purim and Mashiach, and that's why they are connected, deeply connected one to the other. You want to know what Mashiach's all about? Read Megillat Esther, celebrate Purim. Az Yamale Schok Pinu. Then, as Aleph, Zion, comes to 8. 8 always represents that which is L'malam el Teva, above the natural order, the metaphysical, the spiritual, the future. Yomot Mashiach Tchilat HaMeitim. Az Yamale Schok Pinu. Then, says David HaMelech, then our mouths will be full of laughter. Right now you're not laughing because you're feeling the contractions. That's where we are right now. We're feeling the birth pains. It doesn't make sense. How can we get through this? How are we going to survive every day? We go from mask of Purim to mask of COVID, and then this complete madman, this complete divinity, this Meshugana, whatever you want to call him, he's all of them. So I was attacking the whole country. Like, give us a break. Give us a 1 week, a 1 day gap. It's all Ner Shemayim, my friends. There's going to be a time where I understand. Right now we're living in this contraction world where people are suffering. Our people are suffering. Our nation is suffering. Says Miguel, it's all going to turn around. That turnaround is Mashiach's arrival, my friends. And we're on the cusp of it. Everyone knows this. I have non-Jews writing to me more than Jews, telling me we know, we understand. We feel it. Everyone feels there's something going on in the air. That's why Sarah Imenu named her child Yitzchak. What does Yitzchak mean? There will be laughter. Not now. Now we can't experience it. Now I'm going through challenges, difficult, but there will be laughter. Rabbi Akiva standing by the Beit HaMikdash, which was destroyed in front of him. And all his students are crying, and he's laughing. He said, why are you laughing? He says, why are you crying? Because the temple's destroyed. And Rabbi Akiva answers and says, right now it's destroyed, but don't you worry. It's going to be rebuilt. And he bursts out laughing. What an inappropriate response to a destroyed Beit HaMikdash. It's the exact purpose. Rabbi Akiva is telling us, don't live now. We are the people of Az. We're the people who live in the future. What we see around us now is just a small glimpse. You're looking at page 58 of a 200-page book. Well, that's Rabbi Akiva. We're page 109 to 112-page book, possibly. B'ezrat Hashem. We're right there. We live in the... We're not people of Olam Hazeh. We're people of Olam Haba. And Olam Haba is chok, it's laughter, v'nahafachu. It all turns around. So when you see those events happening, when you see this crazy person sitting there at his long table, the Achashverosh 2022, which is a perfect analogy, by the way. Hashem gave us a gift over here, in a sense. A challenging one, but a gift nonetheless. And saying, look at this individual. This is nothing new for our people. Nothing new for the world. It's all going to turn around. There will be a birth, and there will be a gula, there will be a redemption. Okay. We've downloaded that. Let's move on. The Jewish people are described in many textbooks, I remember from school and from college, as nomads. Nomadic people. We schlep around. You may have heard this before. We're movers. Movers and shakers, but we're movers. This is complete and utter nonsense. Drivel. Let me tell you what this is all about. We know for the days of Avraham Avinu who's given 10 tests. The first test was Lech Lecha. You're going to have to go. Where to? I'm not telling you. You're just going to have to go. We knew the ultimate destination was Eretz Yisrael. Masa Avosim Lebanim. Our ultimate destination is Eretz Yisrael as well at the end of days. Avraham Avinu was being instructed, your descendants are going to go through the same challenge and movement. And it's going to be difficult, which is why it was a test. When we were in the desert for 40 years, how many journeys did our people take? How many journeys did we take during this 40-year period before we entered into the land of Israel? An extra glass of wine on Purim, if anyone can answer that question.
40 trips.
42. Very close. You get half a cup. And for you, that's enough, all right? 42 trips. 42 journeys. We had to travel during that time. How did that work? It's fascinating. Listen very carefully. We were there for one day. We unpacked our bags. Okay, we're ready to go. Shem's like, no, you're going to stay here. You're going to stay here. How long? Let's see. The cloud's going to move. The Kohanim and the Aaron are going to follow, and you're going to follow them. Sometimes it was one day. And then the second journey they arrived, and they're like, it's a one-day trip. I'm not unpacking. I'm not going to unpack. I'm going to wait. 3 months, a year, time to unpack, time to go. I just unpacked. It's like that vacation. I just unpacked everything. We were not told how long each journey was. My friends, this is the secret to the nomadic travels of our people. Which is what? Which is we have to go around and pick up the sparks and the tzotzot that have been scattered around the world. How they got there is a much bigger discussion. It goes back to Avraham Avinu's time, of certain gifts that he gave around the world, certain people who he influenced who need to be pulled back, and we have to go pick them up. So we're going to be in certain places for a certain amount of time. You are watching right now the end of one of the big destinations of Jewish history, of which wasn't such a pleasant one, and that is Ukraine. And the Jews are leaving. I mean, even Chabad have gone. I heard from one of my Chabad friends. When they go, the jig's up, my friend. They're the last ones out. They're closing, locking the door. It's done. Uman, no more. This is it. We're crying, but my friends, it's one step closer. It's not the journey. How long are we going to be there for? Hundreds of years. Believe me, your ancestors sat in Syria, in Aleppo, in Tehran, Mashhad, I know where they came from, in Poland, any Ashkenazim here? Right, wherever they were. There's always one token Ashkenazi at every Sephardi shiur, Baruch Hashem. That blonde person, I'm with you. In my house, it's my wife. And there's going to be a time, and it's a given, where they turned around and they said, we're going to be here forever. You know, in Germany, it's hard to even believe this. In Germany before the war, there were certain denominations that had Sidurim. They took out the word Yerushalayim, they put Berlin inside there. It's hard to even believe that. And I've seen evidence of it. You know, Poland is referred to in Polish as Polin. I've taken 5 or 6 trips to Auschwitz with students. Polin means here we are staying. Can you imagine that? Here we're staying until we're not. And we try to bring the customs and the minhagim and the halachot from our native country to our new country. That's all good and well and fine. But it's done. You know, they're about to celebrate. You see the signs outside for St. Patrick's Day. Have you seen this whole thing? These people, they've even been to Ireland before. Who are they kidding? You can dress as much in green as you want. You get no connection. Their great-great-great-grandfather escaped in a potato famine in the 1800s and came here. Oh yes, I'm Irish. What are you talking about? Your grandparents were born in Brooklyn. No. That's our Masorah. That is our tradition. I dress in green, have a clover leaf, and I get completely drunk, and I wear chains, and I'm good to go. Are you out of your mind? What are you doing? We've moved on. And it's okay. Because we're moving to a better place. And in case you think that this galut we're in right now, in America, this nation we're in right now is going to last forever, you'd be ignorant of all of Jewish history to think we could be here forever. Now, it's hard for you to say, I can't even understand what I'm saying. You'd have to upturn the entire Constitution and everything else in order for us to leave this country. But you cannot think you're going to be here forever. That is a foolish and dangerous mistake. How do I know this? The Megillah teaches us this. Because Megillah is a story not of redemption, of survival. And that's where we are right now. And they left, not everyone, 30, 32, 33% left Persia and went back to Eretz Yisrael to build the second Beit HaMikdash. Oh, I have my paradigm. We're all going to leave Galut, and we're going to return to Eretz Yisrael to build the third and final Beit HaMikdash. What has all this got to do? One last piece, and we'll tie this together. What has all this got to do with getting dressed up on Purim? What is this whole thing? Well, what are clothing? What does it represent? There's many stories of clothing in the Megillah. With Achashverosh, just like Belshazzar dressed up as a Kohen Gadol. We know that Esther put on Malchut, royal clothing. We know that Mordechai put on Sak ve'efer when he was mourning, and trying to awaken the people to do teshuvah when the decree of Haman went, and he was put in royal clothing as well, and he went back to Sak and efer. What do bagadim represent, clothing? The word beged, isn't this beautiful idea? It's going to change your life. Is related to the word bagad, to fool other people. The clothing we put on, the hair that we style or don't style anymore, all of this, my friends, is there to fool other people into thinking something which in most cases we're not. And that's okay. Who was the first person to get dressed up as somebody else in the Torah, in the 5 books of Moses? Don't answer, Sandy, you heard this last night. Who got dressed up? Yaakov Avinu. Yaakov wanted to get the brachot that he actually bought for a bowl of beans, or lentils to be exact, from his brother Esav. And he put on the hairy arms, and he took the bracha. We've been dressing up as the Goyim ever since that day. Not wanting to be true to ourselves. But that's not who we are. Because in the end, the truth is going to have to come out. And on Purim, we use a little bit of wine to get out the truth. So on Purim, one day a year, we put on all these fancy, funny clothes to say the rest of the year, this is the real me. V'nahafachu, it all turns around. It all goes inside out. We become emet people. Any little bit of wine to get you to that place. Not too much. A little bit of wine to get you to that place. A place of emet. Let me tell you a story. I may have told it before. I apologize, but it's such a deep story. And I want you to contemplate and meditate on this story. I heard it from Rosh Yeshiva, Alav Shalom, Zecher Tzadik Levracha, Rabbi Weinbach, many, many years ago, 30 years ago. A man goes, it's a great story, this. A man goes on business to a town. And he misses the last train home. And so he's got to spend the night in this town. So he goes, there's one little inn. He knocks on the door, he says, do you have a room? They're like, no, we have no rooms left. Why not? The circus is in town. Circus is in town. We have no rooms left. He goes, please, a bed. I missed the last train. The next train's going to be 4 a.m. He's like, you know what? I have one bed, but it's in a room where there's a clown sleeping. So you can have that bed. Because, great, thank you. So, do me a favor, could you wake me up early in the morning, Mr. Innkeeper, so I don't miss my train out here? I got to get back to the wife and kids. He goes, no problem. He goes, he gets undressed, he puts up his clothing on the hook next to the other hook that has the clothing of the clown. And he goes to bed. Wakes up, 3 a.m, knock at the door. Innkeeper, time to get up, your train's going to be leaving. He jumps out of bed and he grabs his clothes, but he grabs the wrong clothes. He grabs the clothes of the clown. So he puts on the big funny shoes, the big pants, the funny jacket, the funny hat, the weird gloves, grabs his bag and runs out. And he manages, through some miracle, to catch his train. And he jumps onto it. And he wants to go and use the bathroom facilities, and he walks in, he opens the door on the train, and there's a mirror, and he looks in the mirror, and he sees a clown looking back at him. And he says, oh no, that stupid innkeeper, he woke up the wrong person. Think about it. Who is the real us? All year we pretend we're something smart, rich, fancy, intelligent, charismatic. And we fool everyone else, but worst of all, we fool ourselves on Purim. V'nahafachu. Nah, that's not me. That's Esav. Now I'm Yaakov. This is the real me. And we are the people of the future. We are the people of us. We are the people who believe that every challenge that exists in the world today comes to is not because of us, but comes to teach us a very valuable lesson. And the lesson of Purim is an eternal, literally an eternal lesson. That there will be better times, and there will be schok that is going to come out of us. Before there is simcha, there is schok. The first reaction to hearing a joke is, we laugh. That is what Sarah Imenu was hinting to us when she called her child Yitzchak. That is what Rabbi Akiva was hinting to us when he left at the destroyed Beit HaMikdash. Destruction lay before him like lays before us. That is the schok of Esther and Mordechai. That is the schok of David HaMelech when he says, right now, Hazorim Bedima, right now you're sowing with tears in your eyes, Berina Yiksaro, but you will one day reap with great song and with joy. My friends, these are very special times. Use them to build emunah, to appreciate the great gift that we have of being alive during these days to see the great redemption that will come to us, that we're seeing right now as Jews are being taken from all around the world and taken back to Eretz Yisrael. The Torah is being built up after the Shoah, probably Gog and Magog. And we're able to rejoice and see Hashem inside those tragedies and challenges. Then we will all be part of the final laughter. Bezrat Hashem should happen soon. Chag Sameach.